everybody, to another episode of Ask an Expert. I'm Cody. Today we have an exciting episode, at least that excites me. I'm going to be diving further in depth about the negative effects of pouring certain things down your drains. So come with me, let's take a look. So 3 things we talked about last week not to put down your drain: sourdough, grease, and rice. So let's go ahead, we'll start with sourdough. So what happens when I put that batter down my sink? Why should I not do that? Been doing it for years. What's the big deal? Well, if you look down here with me, we can see our sink drain here. This little guy, this tiny little guy right here, feeds into this slightly bigger drain and goes down. What happens when you pour that sourdough batter in there, okay, is at first everything's fine. It's in a liquid state. It runs down here. It maybe gets a little bit down the drain, okay? You don't think anything of it. A couple hours go by, and that batter that you've poured down your sink is starting to dry out, okay? The water that you initially rinsed it down with is gone. That's the way the sewer system is designed. Your waste travels with your water all the way down the pipe, okay? It carries it all the way down. Well, that batter is not going to ride that water all the way down. It's going to get left on the sides, okay? It's going to get left at the bottom of the pipe, maybe at the top of the pipe, and it's going to start to patty up and cake up. It's going to dry out. It's going to be like concrete in your sewer line. It is absolutely adhesive. It's very tough. If you ever get some on your fingers, you know, maybe you like to work with your hands like I do sometimes. You're getting in there in that batter. I mean, let's say you get busy in the kitchen, you're doing other stuff. That batter dries up on your hands so hard, it's like sheetrock. It's like dried paint. Same thing in your sewer line, okay? It'll back you up quicker than you know, and it's really hard to get out of your line. If you snake it, right? You call a plumber. Maybe you call our team here at Cool Ray. We've got an excellent drain department for this kind of issue. Let's say you call a plumber, or let's say you're feeling daring and you're going to go to Home Depot or wherever, and you're going to rent a snake. You might stick it in there, and let's say you might, with your snake, you might blast a hole in that batter, but you're not going to remove the whole chunk of batter, okay? So there's still going to be pockets of this batter left in your line. And what's going to happen is it's going to clog up your line in the months and weeks ahead, because all the little bits of food and stuff you're putting down there are going to hit that batter and stop. The water's going to run away, and it's going to leave a mound of food and batter right there. And that batter that's clinging to your pipe like glue, that's what's causing all that, okay? So that's one thing. That's batter. Let's go on to the next thing, grease. Grease is something that people have been pouring down their lines for a long time, and there's been sort of an evolution to grease, so to speak. And nowadays we make our drain lines out of this plastic stuff. We call it PVC. That's what it's called. Everybody calls it PVC. It functions slightly differently than the stuff they used to do drains with. Now, I don't have an example here in my wet lab of a cast iron drain, but in the past they were cast iron. So back in the day, if you had a cast iron drain, if you wanted to pour some grease down your kitchen, not the worst thing in the world, because what do? What do you remember your mom doing? Boiling a big pot of water, pouring it right down that sink right after your grease. Well, that's totally fine on a cast iron line with no plastic in it, right? No plastic anywhere in your line, all copper or galvanized steel. You pour the boiling water down, it turns the grease back into a liquid and it washes down. Beautiful. Well, nowadays, for the past 20, 30 years, even longer, we're all plastic now. Okay, so if you try to do that same technique, just pour the boiling water down your drain after the grease, all it's going to do is warp your pipes and damage your plumbing. Absolutely not worth it. It'll bubble. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys that now. I wasn't going to include it in this video, but boiling water, since I'm on the subject, if you're ever putting boiling water down your drain, run cold water with it so it cools down, so it doesn't destroy your plastic pipes. So in most people's cases nowadays, we're going to have this PVC pipe, okay? You know, majority case. So what happens when you get the grease down those lines? Well, the grease, it simply builds up just like the batter. And instead of hardening like the batter, the grease is going to congeal, okay? So when it's really hot, it's in a liquid form. But when the grease cools down, it becomes like fat, okay? It congeals and it becomes like a bar of soap almost. Exactly like a bar of soap. And it'll just start to line your pipe like a corroded artery, okay? It's much like the human body, like your blood pressure, your cholesterol, okay? It comes in as liquid grease, it hardens in your system, and it becomes these chunks that cause problems for your whole system. It's the same thing with these pipes. Similar to the batter, when you go to service them, snake it, jet it, what have you, whatever you decide to do, whatever you decide for your Mr. Plumber experienced drain technician to do. If you have a big ball of grease in your drain, if I poke it with a snake, all I'm doing is making a hole in this big ball of grease, okay? Your flow is still restricted. Maybe the water's draining, but not for long. I can promise you that. So when it comes to grease, you've really got a hydrojetted, high pressure water to blast all that grease out. Now, common solution to grease is going to be Drano. I want to talk about Drano really briefly. I don't endorse Drano. We at Mr. Plumber do not endorse Drano. Okay, I'm going to tell you a couple of reasons why. Drano is a very harsh chemical, okay? Absolutely harsh. That's why our drain technicians, if they ask you, hey, before they get started, did you put any Drano in this line? Okay, they're not trying to out you, and they're not trying to criticize you. They are just trying to protect themselves because that chemical is so corrosive and painful. If you've ever got it on your skin, it feels like you're getting ant bites. If you get it in your eyes, you're in for a really bad time. So that's why our drain technicians are going to ask you, hey, did you use Drano on this line? Because they don't want to get hurt. And we don't want to see you guys hurt either. It's a very dangerous product. I don't recommend keeping it in your house. But aside from the health factors on the human body, what can Drano do to my sewer system? Why would I not use Drano? Why would I call a plumber and pay for a plumber when I can just go get a ball of Drano? I'm going to talk to you about it why. So come over here with me. Imagine, so you've got your kitchen sink here, right? It's draining into this bigger pipe, okay? Just real quick, sewer system's like a tree, okay? You've got your kitchen sink, your dishwasher, your toilet. They've all got these itty bitty lines and they run to one bigger line, the trunk line. Let's call this the trunk line, okay? So we glue this PVC together, right? Back in the day, cast iron, we'd slam it together, make it happen, do an oakum and lead fitting. Now we glue it, okay? The glue is susceptible to heat. Well, how does Drano clean a line? A lot of people don't know. I don't know. It blasts it with chemicals. Yeah, it does blast it with chemicals. What else does it do? It works like an icy hot patch. Okay? So as that Drano, the minute the seal is broken and it's exposed to outside air, it's going to want to start to heat up, okay? As long as it's staying fluid, running down your line and moving, it's not activating that chemical process. But the minute it stops, it starts heating up. And it generates a lot of heat. So if you have a clog in your line, it's most likely going to be at a joint like this, right? That's where it's going to be. It's going to be at a bend or a bow or something like that. So now you've poured your Drano in, you've got this clog in your line, and your Drano's sitting right here on this glued fitting doing its thing, heating up. Well, what's happening to the glue that welds these pipes together? It's melting. You can actually melt the glue off your PVC pipe using Drano. Now you've got a big problem, okay? PVC is one thing. I never recommend it, and that's going to be the majority of houses that are built nowadays, okay? Now, once or twice, great. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are like, oh, I've been using Drano for 20 years. I've never had that problem. That's fantastic. You got lucky. Now let's talk about cast iron and Drano. Cast iron is made out of cast iron. Go figure. What does cast iron do? It rusts, okay? It peels away. It flakes like old paint as it goes through the oxidization process. So when you add these super strong chemicals to that iron, these foreign chemicals, what do you think it does to the iron? Well, it accelerates that process. It increases the buildup of what we call scale in your cast iron pipes. That's chunky, gnarly bits of cast iron. If this is your pipe, it's starting to break down and layers of it are peeling off. Now you've got this toothy, porous cast iron rust flake in your line that's catching stuff as it's going through. And Drano's going to quicken that process. So yeah, it might give you temporary relief, but it's also damaging potentially your plumbing system. Cast iron, it's damaging it every time. PVC, you're kind of rolling the dice. Again, it's not going to melt your line the first time you use it, the second time you use it. But if you're using it all the time and it's in the right spot, you're going to cause a big problem on your PVC sewer line. Okay? So that's real quick about Drano. It wasn't real quick. I'm not very quick. I'm sure you guys have noticed. So that's what Drano can do to your grease. Okay? If you're trying to combat grease with Drano. A lot of people use Drano on like their shower if it gets clogged, right? It's got all that shampoo and conditioner and stuff at the bottom, right? It kind of forms this kind of gunky like substance, toothpaste like. Yeah, Drano's going to eat that up. It's not going to eat up hair. Okay, common misconception. Oh, it's going to eat up hair. No, it doesn't. Hair is an inorganic material. Drano will not break it down. It's going to leave the hair. So even though it gives you temporary relief, it eats up all the scum. It's just going to re-scum because you didn't remove the hair from the line. So use Drano at your own discretion. I highly recommend against it. You're always either damaging your line or potentially damaging your line, as well as your own health potentially. So I would stay away from that. The final thing we got to go over today, we're going to talk about rice. Okay. I get a lot of calls
And I was really excited to do this video today because I do get so many calls on this matter. I have a lot to say about it. Rice expands when it gets wet, okay? The less it's cooked, the more water it absorbs and expands, okay? So, and even if it's fully cooked, even if it's overcooked and you pour it down there, it's still going to mop up a little bit of water and expand a little bit over time. So, just never put it down there. You put it down there, it gets wet, it expands, it balloons up in your line. There's absolutely no good that can come of it, okay? A couple other things that I see people do frequently, is like home remedies if you have like a disposal. Like a lot of people swear by eggshells. Oh yeah, I put eggshells in there, it cleans up the sewer line. I don't recommend that at all. Not at all. These lines that come off of your kitchen sink, your shower, what have you, they're smaller than these main sewer lines because they're not meant to take solids. Okay, this is the minimum size line, a 3-inch pipe that's designed to take solids. This, by definition, is not designed to take solids. They don't flow properly through this line, okay? The second thing about putting eggshells down there is they've still got that egg on them, okay? The yolk and the whites, okay? That's very fatty. That's the same thing as pouring grease down your line. So if you do that all the time, you're going to start to get a greasy line. Now, let's say you made a mistake. Somebody came over, you had a party, whatever, you made a mistake. What should you do? Well, my first recommendation is that you run a little bit of steam and hot water, okay? Watch what you're doing. Don't flood yourself, but run some steam and hot water and see if that'll just go ahead and ease that clog out of your line. It's safe for your line, okay? It doesn't take any knowledge to do, and oftentimes it can really help. If that doesn't work, I recommend calling a plumber, okay? We here at Mr. Plumber have a highly experienced drain team. They are stocked with sewer line cameras, hydro jetters, and every size snake you can imagine to make sure that we can unclog your drain at any time. I had a call last week. An older gentleman had a slow running lavatory. So we went to Home Depot, bought a drain snake, and attempted to snake it from the top here. Well, I got a call about an hour later. My living room is flooded. What did I do wrong? I drove over there. The first thing I did is I opened up the cabinet and I looked down here at this piece right here. It's called a P-trap. I definitely want you to get a look at this. This is called a P-trap. So you can simply unscrew this, and a lot of times stuff gets caught in this P-trap. So if you do put rice or sourdough down your line, grab a bucket, put it under here, unscrew this, and dump it out. You might just solve your problem. Now, this customer that flooded his living room, he took his snake, he removed his stopper from the top of his sink, and he shoved his snake down in there to try to unclog the line. And he thought he got it because it drained. And it didn't. This snake went straight into this P-trap, got caught, and broke it. Poured all the water out under the sink. He's sitting here washing his hands. Meanwhile, he's flooding out his living room and he has no idea. This is why we call a plumber. Okay? It might seem easy to shove a snake down a sewer line, but I promise you, when you mess up or when you get dirty, you might be having second thoughts. So I hope you guys learned something today. I was very excited to teach you guys a little bit about what happens if you put these things down your drain. As always, I'm Cody with Mr. Plumber. This is our Ask an Expert series. I'm really grateful that you guys decided to join us today, and I hope you join us next week. I've got a really interesting segment coming up. Stay tuned.